AITA for ditching my date and causing a scene. I'm 19F and my date was 25 meters. I was a regular client of a buddy of his who is a tattoo artist, and he had seen me get tattooed by him once as he came to visit while I was halfway through my session. I get an IG message from him. Found it a bit odd as to how he found me, since my page is super private. My username isn't specific at all to my real name and I have 40 followers. He explains he's and so's friend, and we end up speaking and have great banter. We seem to really get along through text. It's hard for me to keep up a consistent convo through text, so I'm excited and we plan to meet up. We catch up to hang out and he offers me a drag from his spliff. I take a few drags and after a little while can tell it was a mistake. I smoke semi-regularly but it hit me very differently this time around. We are in his car driving around and he proceeds to ask me questions and we talk. I study justice, so he's telling me how he's an ex-con and is out on parole yet still engages in illegal activities. Then goes on about how women lie about sexual assault 99% of the time. That's when I freak. He makes a comment about how high I'm, then jokes about robbing me and leaving me in a ditch. At this point I start to get really scared. He keeps asking if anyone knows I'm with him, who I live with, how much money I make, and how much I have on me, etc. Just weird questions. I was under the influence, big mistake. So my reaction emo was much more extreme. I was scared and wanted to jump out of the car. The undertone of the convo was very off. My perception was exacerbated by drugs, but safe to say I was genuinely scared. I hid my unease and tried to convince him to pull over somewhere so I could be around people and also so he wasn't DUI. He didn't want to and kept driving, but after 20 minutes of convincing him that I felt sick and needed to sit down, we pulled up to a restaurant. I get out of the car and start walking ahead of him up to the restaurant as he's taking a phone call. I go up to 3 women and say as to not cause a scene, I'm really scared. Can you help me? And pretend to know me. They catch on and can see I'm upset. I sit with them. He catches up with me after his call and the women start telling him they know me and my mum wants me home. He says he'll take me home, but they are very firm. He addresses me quite angrily and asks, who does your mum think you're with? The owner gets aware and told him to leave, and he ended up leaving. I felt guilty since I had gotten along with him and he'd taken the time to see me. I'm not 100% sure if I was in danger and if I could have stuck through it and left amicably instead of unintentionally causing a bit of a scene, which was embarrassing not only for him but also me. I tried to have tact in the situation and didn't have the confidence to be straightforward, but wonder if in hindsight it would have been better to tell him I was uncomfortable and wanted to leave. Edit. Some of you are saying this is a validation post or would be better suited to other subreddits. I'm super new to Reddit, but thought that most predicaments are pretty much fair game for this subreddit. Correct me if I'm wrong please. I genuinely wanted to know if my reaction was rude, if there's something wrong with me for getting freaked out the way I did, and if I'm the a-hole for handling a bad date this way. I see that this isn't as polarizing as some other posts, but unlike on here I had very mixed and negative reactions. Hence why I got on here, and despite all that, I do appreciate the support and validation, NGL. From people saying I did the right thing, even though it didn't necessarily feel like that in the moment. NTA, holy shit. That guy sounds like a major creep. And likely dangerous. You did the right thing. Never apologize for making a scene if it's to ensure your safety. Edit. TBH, I would have called the cops. But that's just me. Edit part second. You could contact his parole officer. Honestly, I don't know if that'd be taking it too far. But you could. Edit part third. I see you. Murderiness. That would not be taking it too far. This man is dangerous. You got away, other women helped you. Pay it forward by informing his parole officer of his behavior to protect the next woman. NTA. You were escaping someone who was committing a crime and scaring the crap out of you. That dude is messed up. NTA. Glad you trusted your instincts. Yeah, there's like a 1% chance he's didn't read the room and got diarrhea of the mouth and was telling jokes that flopped. Even if he wasn't planning to try anything that night, 99% chance he's a bad guy to be around anyway. You need to read the book The Gift of Fear. Your NTA. He was acting oddly and driving under the influence and you handled it super well. He made the scene. If he had good intentions, wouldn't he have introduced himself and been polite and helped figure out how to get you home? Would he have ignored you when you asked to stop? You did wonderfully. Good job. Does your tattoo artist have your Instagram? The Gift of Fear was my first thought also. One of the most helpful parts of the book, for me, is the idea that women are more worried about being perceived as rude or paranoid/crazy than they are about their intuition and safety. Which, when you spell it out, is absolutely ridiculous. Be rude. Be the crazy paranoid girl who got a weird vibe and got out of there and got home safe. I've recommended that book to all of my female friends and family. NTA. Like at all. Wow, that guy sounds like a creep. Even if his intent wasn't to harm you in some way. No rational person is going to whip out those conversation starters. You were right to be alarmed, and you did the right thing by approaching the 3 women. I don't blame you at all for not telling him you were uncomfortable. What if he had reacted badly? You had reason to believe you might not be safe. And I think you handled it correctly. I'm glad you got away from him. Edit a word. Dude, NTA. Comments like that are a huge red flag. Not to mention he is basically breaking parole doing that stuff. You're lucky it wasn't laced. You handled it tactfully, and the fact that you had to convince him for 20 frickin' minutes to stop is scary. Count yourself lucky and block him on everything. And I would have a brief conversation with your tattoo friend, ensuring he does not get convinced to give any details about you in the future. It sounds like it maybe was laced by the way she describes her reaction to it. She says she's a regular smoker and it made her feel not like her usual high. So glad she followed her instincts and got out of there fast. NTA. NTA. He sounds scary. Glad you're safe. Never feel bad for prioritizing your well-being. NTA. He asked who knew you were with him. That could mean he's scoping you out, so if nobody know where you are, he can do whatever he wants. He also gave you something that impaired your judgment. Furthermore, he made a comment about lots of women lying about sexual assault. He could have been setting a precedent, so once he was done with you, you'd be afraid of coming forward because you'd seem like a liar. Everything about this screams rapist. NTA. Never regret causing a scene if you did it because you might have been in danger. That's absolutely how rapists use intimidation to get away with it. NTA. Those are very personal and obscene questions to be asking on a date. If he truly intimidated you, despite you being under the influence, it's better to simply leave him and assure your safety. Additionally, if you're with a girl much younger than you whom is under the influence, joking about robbing her and leaving her in a ditch is immensely inappropriate. I can't say that and expect a woman to be comfortable with you in your car. I'd say you did the right thing seeking help of the strangers. And my advice is to stray away from that guy. Agreed. Definitely NTA, and I'm proud of you, op. You did everything right. NTA, and well done for having the presence of mind to do what you did. Brave girl. NTA, you asked him to pull over and go somewhere public. He didn't. You told him you felt sick, and even still he needed more convincing to finally pull over somewhere. You did the right thing. You were very tactful to ask those women to pretend to know you, and if he proceeded to make a scene to such a point management needed to come over and ask him to leave, then that's a massive red flag. You did what you needed to do, and it was the right thing to do. NTA, it sounds like that could have ended as a missing person news story. NTA. I'm so glad you're okay. Your safety is your top priority when going out with someone. Especially if you don't know that person too well. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Judging from the conversation, the topics were weird and unsafe sounding. Weed can make you more paranoid sometimes. But I think those questions and comments would make even a sober person uncomfortable. I understand your want to GTFO immediately, and I'm glad those people were there to help you out. Not only are you NTA, but you should be seriously proud of how you handled things, because it sounds like you dodged a bullet that day. That was so smart of you to find a reason to get out of his car and over to the safety of those women. People can pretend to be anyone through text, and if you told him you were uncomfortable in person, who knows if he would have snapped. You definitely made all the right decisions. NTA, those were weird ass questions to be asking someone. I would be weirded out being asked that sober, let alone high. There was a lot of fishy shit going on there, and I would want out of that situation as well. That dude is a creep. Edit: if you report him, make sure to do it anonymously and ask them if they would do a random drug test. They shouldn't need a reason to give him a drug test, and that wouldn't tip him off that you called his PO. NTA. You were 100% in danger. That guy laced the spliff with something and was basically telling you exactly what kind of fucking maniac he is. You did the right thing getting away from him. If sometime in the future someone gives you an off vibe, but otherwise seems like maybe they're okay, but you wonder if maybe you should bail, do exactly what you did with this guy. Trust your gut. NTA. But wow, what a jump to conclusion you're making. It doesn't sound laced at all. A spliff is already tobacco and weed, which can definitely make you dizzy without the need for anything more. 100% NTA. Never, ever, for 1 second hesitate to cause a scene when you think your safety is at stake. I'm a fully grown and rather large man, and I'd have done the same thing you did if I'd have been quick-witted enough to come up with it. I would also suggest getting your blood tested for drugs. If that joint didn't feel right, no telling what it might have been laced with. And totally call his parole officer. Sing like a bird. This guy hurts women. You were lucky. Supposing he was on the up and up, and you were totally wrong, and he meant no harm, and you overreacted. Guess what? You still did the right thing. You didn't feel safe, so you trusted your instincts and got away safely. Way to go, you. NTA. If he was on the up and up, his reaction to the friends would have been entirely different too. Say you're on a date. That date sees 2 of their friends and she wants to stay with them. Do you make a scene? Or do you say you had a good time and take a hint and leave? Good people and reasonable people might be a little hurt by that. Nothing more. Fucking creeps make a scene. Better to be embarrassed than dead. SSDGM. Fuck yeah. Murderiness unite for this girl. NTA. You are obviously not the asshole and you did absolutely nothing wrong. Hearing these stories hurts. I'm not 100% sure if I was in danger and if I cold stuck through it and left amicably instead of unintentionally causing a bit of a scene, which was embarrassing not only for him but also me. So many women seem to have this experience of being outright explicitly abused, and then they very politely stand up for themselves and feel guilty and like they were the asshole in this situation. Do you think that guy went home and wondered if he was the asshole after drugging and threatening someone repeatedly? Fuck no. No wonder that asshole has done time. Hope he goes back. NTA. He was straight up going to rape and murder you. For all Micro Med Junkie podcast friends, be weird. Be rude. Stay alive. Don't feel bad about leaving. This guy was a total creep. Better safe than sorry. NTA. That phrase was the first thing I thought of. The series of prodding questions that guy asked. I 100% remember hearing a few true crime stories of murderers asking the exact same things to their victims. Well, to victims who escaped. Otherwise we wouldn't have known what was said. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more future videos.